followed by the previous video, we will continue about data frame part. When I checked the previous two videos, the front part of them was unstable, but don't worry about that part because you can check the whole procedure of the exercise on top of each video clip at the end of part. So please follow the step by step the video clip. So sometimes don't worry about the noise video sound, all right? And different from two previous videos, maybe this video can be clear. So please refer this video in detail for the data frame part, okay? So in the previous video, we talked about how can you make data frame using the data.frame function. For that, we defined the character vector, number vector, as well as string vector, right? And we also made two kinds of data frame. First name is the data frame. Second is data frame 2, right? And then we also check the data type using class function, and we check the dimension with the dim function, right? Today, we will talk about the repetition and C vector generation function in detail. For example, if you want to make a character vector from A to O, we can make the vector using C function with this comment. Like that. But this comment is not efficient because it is too long, right? So instead of this comment, we can put the comment in front of this comment, and we can make a character vector using repetition function. So different from capital letters, if we use the lowercase letters from 1 to 15, we can consider from A to O alphabets because the number of the characters is 15. So we can repeat these lowercase alphabets. So finally, we can make the character vector and then assign to the vector data variable name. And then if you put the vector data in console, we can check the data inside of the vector data variable. And then we can also check the data type with class function, and we can check the dimension, but vector dimension is null, so we can check this successfully, all right? Also, we can make the vector using this way. So if we want to make the 5 rows and 3 columns, we can use the C function with the integer value, right? So if we make the vector space with the number of the 5 rows and the 3 columns, and then if we assign this space to the vector data, that means we can divide the previous single column vector into the 5 rows and 3 columns with the dim function together, right? So if we check the vector data after typing vector variable in console, we can check the 5 rows and 3 columns, right? And then interestingly, we can check the data type of vector data with the class function that is the matrix. All right. So today we will compare what is difference between data frame and matrix as well as data frame itself. All right. So as you can see on the screen, matrix is composed of same data type. So when you look at this metric, there are characters are um, only there, right? So with the please compare metrics with the data frame. So when you compare together, that is the data frame, right? So data frame has um, different data type per each column, right? But in case of metric, all columns have the same data type, right? So as you can see on the screen, the difference between them, the configuration of the various data type, right? So you should use the matrix or data frame sometimes very flexibly, all right? And then we can also check the data frame from matrix to data frame like that. So if we use the matrix, we can check the index at the left side or top side, right? So on the other hand, if we use the as.data.frame function as a metric input parameter, finally we can get the data frame also. So that is the second method for data frame generation. So after typing uh, vector data variable, we can check the um, matrix data results. However, after this calling as data frame function, we can get the data frame. So different points is the index enumeration and the data type configuration, right? So after typing the from matrix to data frame variable, we can check the matrix format is changed to the data frame, right? So as I talked to you before, in case of the data frame, each column can be different data type. But in this case, we only consider characters, right? So data frame also covers the characters only. But how can you know that is that a data frame or matrix? Of course, we can check it using the calling uh, class function. So we can check the from matrix to data frame variable is including data frame type, right? And second different one is the index expression as I talked to you before, right? So sometimes matrix is very efficient based on your interest problem, right? But sometimes or most examples um, needed the data frame instead of a matrix because of the several reasons as I talked to you before. All right. So we can exercise the second way of data frame generation together. And we can also compare the metrics and data frame together. All right. So please open your RStudio and then please consider the vector together. All right. So go to the top sides, and then we can exercise together. All right. So please open your RStudio. In case of me, I already opened it, right? So I can do it as soon as possible, but I will wait for a short time for session open of your RStudio. All right. So, all right. In console, we can exercise from the first command together. So we can make a vector, data, variable, and then we can put assignment operator. And as I talked to you, we can make a vector using repetition function. So we can put letter, the small letters for the lowercase alphabet. So from 1 to 15. That means from A to the alphabet O, right? So after enter, we can check the vector using typing of the vector variable name. And then we can check from A to that to the O alphabet, right? So if you want to check it in the console wholly, you can put vector variable one more, and then we can check from A to the O. But different from the previous one, finally we can enumerate from A to O alphabet. But if you make the RStudio to the small size one, we can get the result flexibly, right? This result, right? So don't worry about it, okay? But what is the number of the 1 and 9 index? The 1 index is the single data, but in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So from 9 character, we can check this line. So index 9 means from 9 data, you can check in the second line. So just expression, so don't worry about the function, right? Okay, and then we can check the data type using class function. So you can put the variable name, and we can check the, oh, this vector has characters only, right? And then we can use the dim function also. So this is the vector, so the result of the dim function is just null, right? And then we can also make matrix using hybrids of dimension and C function with this command, right? So you should put dim and vector data, and the division space is 5.3, right? So after that, if you put the vector data, that is the matrix. So you can find it together. Yeah, that is metric, right? So if you want to make matrix, you can hybrid the demand function and vector function C. So using vector function C, we can make the matrix space with the rows and columns. And for that, we specify dimension functions together. So after that, our interpreter can understand, oh, I should make 5 rows and 3 columns, all right? Then after that, we can call dimension function single, and then we can check the data type as dimension, right? Okay, so we check it together, and we can compare metric and data frame also, right? So that is the first exercise in this video clip, all right? And second one is this part. The main topic of today is the how can you make data frame with other method, right? So using metric data type, and if we call as.data.frame function as the input parameter of a metric, we can also make data frame. So that is different points from previous video clip, right? So we focus on this comment, all right? So we already made metrics, right? And then if we use the metrics as an input data for the as.data.frame function, we can make the data metric from we can make data frame from the metric, right? So I made the variable name from metric to data frame, the variable name, right? And assignment operator and as.data.frame. So as.data.frame function is for the data frame generation. So please press F1, and the objective of this function is to check if an object is data frame or course it, if possible. So what is course, right? Yeah, with intention. Intentionally, we can change from input data to the data frame, right? So if already input data is data frame, it's okay. But in this case, our data is metric, right? So our interpreter can change from metrics to data frame, okay? So if you want to use as.data.frame function, you should specify the first parameter absolutely, right? So what is the x? X is any R object, such as character, vector, metric, and so on. But normally we consider metric. So from metric, we can change the data frame naturally, all right? And then we can also consider row dot names similar to the read dot table function. And additionally, we can also consider optional and string as vectors and so on. So we can consider many kinds of parameters for as.data.frame function. So there are many kinds of as.data.frame function template format. And there is the another methods can be referred is data.frame. So is it a data frame or not? So that is the function of the is data.frame. And if you want to check the specific examples, we can check the another functions by click this part and then compare them. So that can be also flipped running on top of your capability and understanding degree. All right, so it is up to you how long will you spend your time for usage of these functions. So you can test many kinds in console. All right, okay, so we can type as.data.frame, and we can deliver matrix data, right? So matrix data name, the variable name is vector data, right? Then if you put the variable name only, you can check the result of the data frame, right? So please compare the matrix data and data frame. In case of a matrix, it has two indexes. The first index is for information of each row. The second index is the information for each column, right? So if we want to filter this element only, we can use index square bracket 1, 1, right? How about this? You can filter this element only using square bracket 5.3, right? But in case of matrix, there's no index information, but we can consider each rows using this discrete number and the column vector name. So we can cover many times for big data control after midterm tests. So don't worry about that part. All right? Okay. So please capture this screen and paste at the bottom part of your Word file. Okay, so go to the bottom and then paste. So you should put your working date, and the title is the comparison between matrix and data frame, right? First title is this. Second title is the right, so I need the data frame generation. The second method, right? All right. So what is the first and second method? So what is the first method? The first method for data frame generation, we use the data.frame function, right? On the other hand, the second method for data frame generation, we used as.data.frame function. All right, so this function can be studied in the previous video. this function you see, we started in this video a few minutes ago, right? So you should also compare two functions and what is different data type. All right, and finally we can get the difference between matrix and data frame. So you put your explanation with the subject, and then you can paste to your trace, and then you can put the explanation more. All right, so that is your mission for week 3, right? So we covered these slides together. All right, so today we compared the metrics and data frame as I talked to you, and we studied the another method for data frame generation. That is the first methodology, that is the second method, right? Naturally, if we use the read dot table functions, finally we can make data frame internally and default. So please check your variable with the class function after calling read dot table function, and then compare the results and check the if the result is data frame or not. All right. So please take forward this slide. I summarized the old methodology for data frame generation. As I talked to you, if we make vector data using C function, and if we use the dim function and C function continuously, we can get the metric data, and then we can make a data frame after as.data.frame function, right? And if we use the C function for each vector, and if we use the data.frame function, finally we can also get the data frame. Okay, so that is the second way, and that is the first method, first way for generation. So there are two ways to make data frame, data type, okay? And after that, we will cover write function as write.csv, write.table function soon. So after that part, we can save our own output file. Okay, so we can keep our files forever, and then we can open and use them on top of our interest problem. So in this video, we discuss about the metric data frame and their comparison. All right. So even though only 2 pages were covered in previous video and this video, but these slides had enough information and the trouble and difficulties for using them quickly. So please repeat 2 slides with enough time, and please take a photo of these slides and frequently and every day check your photo album of your cell phone or by yourself. All right. So after that, after many repetition, we can naturally memorize and understand each function and data type naturally without stress, right? So you can get enough hints when you will have a quiz or midterm as well as the final test. All right. So thank you for listening. See you next video. Okay. Bye bye.